What a fantastic town hall meeting. I wish it could have gone on for another hour or two. The passion, the commitment, the inspiration, and the brains in this meeting have just been unbelievable. We may have lost a third of our total participants because we moved from Santiago to Buenos Aires. But boy, what a summit it has been. We always aim for the summit to be better than the preceding ones. And despite all of the challenges, thanks to all of you, our speakers, our delegates, our team, we did it. What makes us so powerful is that we have a blend of heart and mind. I spent my life in the venture capital business, backing inspiring entrepreneurs. And I always say to our team at the GSG, we can achieve so much more with people with passion than people who simply want to work hard and make money. That is the difference between our movement and other movements today, which are seeking to try to help redress the balance of our shaking societies. We know we are confronting, as Christoph said it, a huge series of different interacting causes between our political and economic system. And what I understood Christoph to be saying is, look, don't expect the political system to find the solutions today. There are political issues in driving the impact investment forward, absolutely no doubt. But the economic diplomacy to which he referred is about driving change through our economic and financial system. The issues that we face today are partly dependent on political causes, undoubtedly. But they're much more the result of an economic system that has disappointed the majority of our people. We talk of the anti-elite feelings that are around, of the lack of trust in our political institutions, in the judiciary, in our system. The reason doesn't only have to do with the way in which politicians have managed our political affairs. The capitalist system has broken down. In earlier stages of our industrial development, governments could cope with the consequences, environmental and social, of the system. Today, with the scale of challenges that we feel on the social as well as on the environmental side, they no longer can. Governments are throwing up their hands and looking for solutions. And I don't see any other solution around but the solution that we in this great hall are proposing. I have not heard a single other rational explanation that is likely to work or recommendation that is likely to be successful. Let's just unroll the map that has brought us to Buenos Aires today. What are we bringing to the world? What knowledge and experience have we collectively accumulated in 40 countries that are present here today, 32 in the EU NABs that we presently constitute, 32 2 countries, and the EU 28 NABs. We're bringing to the world impact to the center of its consciousness. We're saying our economies should work not on the principle of risk and return, of making money with the lowest acceptable level of risk, but on the basis of risk, return, and impact, accepting the responsibility that making money alone is not going to improve lives, and that we have to put it to its right use, to its higher purpose. We have devised ways of optimizing risk, return, and impact. We've done it by pushing impact through private asset classes like venture capital and private equity, beginning to measure impact so that we can bring it into public companies, the $30 trillion we've spoken about. We've also developed pay-for-success techniques that create a new asset class of impact bonds that's very attractive for investors and that has the advantage of delivering better results. And when used by the private sector, these social impact bonds and these development impact bonds and these environmental impact bonds achieve better results at less cost. And when they're used by government, they change the way, the efficiency in which government goals can be achieved. If you look at the way government spends money, even in the meetings that we had today and yesterday, we heard of the hundreds of billions of dollars that are spent on social issues without achieving the desired result. And it's taken us a while to get to 180 such instruments in 30 countries. But one thing we know about financial markets is that when proof of concept is there, then you get to take off. And when you get to take off, the sky is really the limit. The ability for government to use these means of making its expenditure more successful, of transferring risk to investors who take the delivery risk in improving education or homelessness or teenage pregnancy or whatever social issue it is that we're passionate about. That ability will increase trust in government. If government wants to redistribute, it needs to raise more tax. In order to raise more tax, people have to feel a sense of trust that that tax, which is coming out of their pocket, is going to be effectively and judiciously spent. We have shown how governments can release unclaimed assets from bank accounts, from insurance companies, from investment funds. Billions and trillions around the world lie in these accounts. Money that is public money, but not tax money, that government accepts should be expended on social issues. And where, in the UK at least, we were able to create big society capital, Cliff spoke earlier, without it being part of government, with government oversight, some government oversight, but running independently as an entrepreneurial organization. And now we're adding to all these instruments that we have developed over the last 8-9 years or so. We're adding the ability to address issues at scale through outcomes funds. If we look at the social development goals today, if we want to begin a process of innovation in tackling issues in education, which is the most powerful lever for social mobility, as we all know, then the use of outcomes funds is a very powerful tool because it brings together the involvement of 8 organizations which are our new allies, and I want to praise DFID for the work that it is doing in supporting the development of the impact ecosystem across the world. And I want to also thank USAID and FMO for the leadership role that they are playing. And I want to ask governments to give a clear mandate if one of the messages that hits home is this one, this summit will have been worthwhile. Give your aid organizations which are deploying $150 billion a year to those in need a clear mandate to use impact investment in achieving their mission. Achieving the SDGs has become a focus for the world. It's right that we accept the responsibility for helping to achieve them, fulfilling the $30 trillion gap. How are we going to do that? We're going to do that, first of all, by bringing impact-weighted accounts that enable investors, talent that wants to join companies, consumers that want to know who they're buying their products from, the ability to look at a company's financial statements and judge both its financial and its impact performance at the same time. We want financial analysts to begin to analyze the relationship between companies which are delivering better impact performance as well as better profits and compare it with future growth. We want to begin to set a new norm of being able to achieve superior impact and superior financial performance at the same time. And in the same way that technology, and I am always struck by the similarity between the tech revolution and this great impact revolution in the making. If we want to bring the impact revolution to do what the tech revolution has done, which I believe it is capable of doing, then we have to use the conclusions of this summit effectively. The key conclusion of this summit for me is that even the achievement of the SDGs is only another milestone to impact economies that redistribute outcomes. Our system distributes social outcomes and environmental outcomes in blatantly unfair ways. It makes those of us who have had a break in life uncomfortable about the lives that a multitude of others are leading. And the accumulation of money for the sake of money makes no sense. It makes no sense emotionally, it makes no sense socially, and it makes no sense economically. Because the companies that are able to deliver a blend of impact and profit will attract the best talent. They will also discover the greatest markets. They will design their product for the largest markets, and they will find ways of making money out of it. In the same way that venture capital seemed to me to be a great financial formula for making capital, impact seems to me to be a great formula for making capital, but as a side product. The main purpose of going into our offices or workshops or factories every day cannot be to make money. And if we begin to see impact connected with the change in values from which it springs, then we will see an acceleration of the progress of our movement. So impact economies are now very clearly the destination. It may take us 10 or 20 years to get there, but who cares? On the way, we're going to be not only achieving better lives for millions and billions of people, we're going to be changing values, because it's going to become impossible for somebody to stand up and say, I'm in business just to make money. Just making money will become a dirty phrase. And so the question that I ask all of us as we leave this amazing summit is, how are we going to accelerate the progress? Because we see the urgency is increasing all the time. The very reason we are here, while it's not solely attributable, perhaps, to issues of inequality, is certainly partly an issue of inequality, as we eloquently heard from our friend from Chile. In my view, one of the big conclusions of this summit is that we have to begin to create a popular movement around us. And a popular movement could well be around what Richard Curtis, who raised more than £1 billion for his comic relief campaign, £1 billion. This, by the way, is the filmmaker who made Notting Hill and 4 Weddings and the Funeral. Okay? I'd rather dwell on the weddings than the funeral, but in any case. Perhaps the campaign that DFID and he and we and others from our GSG family have been trying to craft about making money matter. Make my money matter. Perhaps that is the theme. Perhaps it covers consumers who make their money matter by what they purchase. It covers the employment remuneration that people are going to be receiving. They don't want to receive it from companies that they despise. But for us, who are using the economic and financial system to bring about real change, perhaps it's the way to shake $80 trillion out of their complacency. Where are those $80 trillion? They're in pension funds. How many people in this room have a pension fund, make pension fund contributions? Most of us. How many of you have ever looked at the portfolio of your pension fund? Maybe 10% of the hands that went up. Let us focus our role in creating this popular movement on shaking this $80 trillion to move in the direction of impact investment. There are 14 million people in the UK alone that have pensions with significant amounts of money in them. Let us focus on these 14 million people and do the same in each of our countries. And let us craft messages that bring popular pressure on pension fund trustees to begin to follow the examples set by PGGM and Zurich and others, and direct their portfolios initially to sustainable investment, because we're talking of massive amounts of money, with an allocation to impact investment of 10%. And then down the line to shift, with impact-weighted accounts coming along, to shift all of their investment to companies that measure their impact. That, I believe, is the next step for us to achieve impact economies soon. Everything's happening faster than it was when I got into the venture capital business in 1972. We're standing on the shoulders of the tech revolution in achieving social and environmental goals. I believe we will see impact-weighted accounts coming into use within 2 or 3 years. They won't be perfect. They may only measure environmental at first, and then employment, and then product impact, but they will come into use. And then let us focus on providing the sort of guidance to those who can direct their money to places where it can really do good. If the French Revolution of 1789 overthrew the king and the aristocracy to spread political power better, let us overthrow the dictatorship of profit to distribute human outcomes better. Onwards and upwards.